Just
Cool.
kidding.
I,
Wait, who's that rogue actually? I never apologized.
why would you say?
Like, because like I basically put him down, put her, like the person down to my level in Minecraft.
Oh, yeah.
But
Well,
I don't know whose target is.
we actually have quite a few people here. Yeah, so welcome everybody. This is like I was saying earlier, this isn't gonna be too long or intense. It's just more of like a recap of like some of the things that are going on in the governance guild. Because there's so much going on the education side with Emerald Academy, and so much going on in the building side with Float, Gateway, and now the two or three bounties we're gonna be taking up. So I just wanted to, maybe check in, see if there's some things that we want to be doing in the governance guild. But even maybe more importantly, some of the things that we're going to decide on that like we just want to take a break from thinking about while we focus on other things at this time. It's interesting, like for some context, when I first started this DAO, I was actually most interested in the governance side of things. And I'm sure Andrea, you remember, and Bam and Kelcoin, that we used to have like, extremely lengthy discussions about reputation and voting and tokens and governance and all of that in the channel. And we had Chase too. And, it was a bit overwhelming at the time. And I think, it's really funny because I think the thing that I've learned most from this DAO has nothing to do with education or building, but I think I've learned most about like community and how people interact with one another. And also like, I've learned a lot about like not trying to tackle problems before they're actually problems. And what I mean by that is like we were trying to tackle like voting and governance and all these things without actually thinking about why we needed to solve them in the first place. So far we've been working extremely well together. And a lot of things that we're doing, happen very quickly, right? Like one day we wake up and I have this like crazy dream that we're going to take on three bounties. And then boom, the next day we're taking on three bounties. And it's like, it's a lot to handle, but it's also like really great. And that sort of mentality so far has gained us a lot of, not only like attention, but also like valuable reputation in the space. If you sort of think about where Emerald City has come, like a lot of people do look to Emerald City as this like, go-to place for community building and also to work on things together. I've gotten a ton of messages already about people saying, I really wanted to take on these Dapper Collective bounties as an individual, but I think it's better suited as a community. And so they're actually, looking to Emerald City to work on these projects together. And it's also just been fantastic because we've been able to, onboard a lot of people into Flow, and then point them to, good, like a beneficial direction to either have them get paid or learn or whatever it may be. So I'm really proud of where we've come. And by no means am I like, saddened by the fact that we never ended up solving like the reputation and token stuff. Although I think that's sort of what we can talk a little bit about today. So I think, for those of you that don't really know that much about the reputation system, this was sort of like the main topic of the Governance Guild for a while. When we were trying to figure out how to represent people's, how to have people voting in the DAO and stuff like that. Now, voting's an interesting topic because, like I said, I don't think voting is something that we really want to be tackling right now, unless anyone disagrees. This was sort of the first thing I wanted to bring up was like, we've been thinking a lot about voting, but is that something that we do want to tackle right now? Is it really necessary for us to tackle that? I'm not sure, but I personally think that maybe it's something that we, keep to the side for now. And then the reason I'm mentioning that is because of this reputation system where, people, the way it works is that people in this DAO, receive certain reputation based on actions they're doing. So for example, if you, contribute to the Float project or you contribute to Gateway or something like that, you would get building reputation. Or if you're an instructor for the academy, you get education reputation, stuff like that. I think that's an extremely, intensive project to try to figure out, because there's a lot of discussions to be had, and obviously coding that out is going to be pretty difficult. So maybe it is worth putting that off, maybe even for a little longer. We had mentioned in the season 1 document that we wanted to have, sort of have that scoped out this season. but maybe it's smarter to put that off. I'm not sure. What are everyone's thoughts around that?
I can go, but anyone feel free to interrupt me because I don't want to be the one hogging the mic all the time. I totally agree with you. I think one thing that made me stick around Emerald DAO, and I mean, apart from you, right, which was kind of the reason I wanted to leave it, right? Just kidding. But no, like, I think one of its strongest points is just like less talk, more doing, right?
Yeah.
And Chase also said that, which was like, hey, like, in a way, summarized is don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness, right?
Yeah.
Or like try, and if anyone wants to stop you, they should have a good reason for it, right? Or at least come to terms with like what can be good enough to try out, right?
Yeah.
So I totally like this approach because it allows the group to experiment, to build a lot of things that are missing, right? Like we're literally exploring uncharted territory, at least on Flow, and even beyond Flow. Like there's concepts of Emerald ID that are not present anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And that wouldn't have been possible if we've had this complicated voting mechanism where any type of decision would have to go through a vote. I agree, votes are powerful, especially for very important decisions.
Yep.
But maybe we're a little too embryonic right now to be slowed down by votes, right? Maybe when we're like 100,000 person group with tons of different subgroups and different initiatives and millions of dollars at stake, that's when I think a vote is worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But right now it's like, okay, maybe all it's going to do is, given that most of the people actively contributing have the best intentions right now, and we don't have to defend ourselves against bad actors at the moment, that's really when like kind of vote comes into play. Is like, how do we make sure that it's democratic enough so that a couple bad actors don't spoil it for everyone, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree.
So again, I'm kind of just like spilling out my thoughts, but this is all to say that I'm in favor of temporarily pausing the voting side of things in lieu of all the recent opportunities that there are, all of the ideas that we have for Emerald ID, all of the bounties that there are that can help kind of create a chest, like a war chest that we can use for other cool stuff. And that just requires to move quickly and build cool stuff quickly, and be first. So those are my thoughts.
Yep.
I'll let other people speak.
I completely agree with all of that. I'm going to let anyone else, sort of speak up if they want to, but otherwise I'll continue. Yeah. Yeah, it seems like Kelvin's in agreement too. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think the voting is, just like Andreas said, it's not something that we need at this current moment. I think, the one thing that always interested me in the governance guild was sort of like the reputation system. And that, even though it was directly tied to voting, had implications beyond just like voting. I think even like the original intent for the reputation system was to develop people's like, on-chain, like, I mean, for lack of a better term, like reputation, like, you'd be able to build up your education, build up your building status, and then you'd be able to go into other communities and say, hey, look at what I've done. I have all this building rep and I have all this education rep. Like, what can I do? Or, maybe can I improve my, status in the ecosystem by doing this sort of thing? And I think it's almost funny because indirectly it's sort of happening without the reputation system. There's a lot of people that have contributed in this DAO that are building up their own rep, not officially with some like mechanism, but they are doing it by learning and by contributing to projects and then being able to, maybe mention other projects that, hey, I worked on this, I worked on that, I got paid in Flow token through Emerald City, whatever it is. And even with Emerald Academy, people that have participated in the academy have also indirectly, built up their reputation. A lot of people have DM'd me, asked me, hey, do you have any Cadence developers or specifically, do you have any Cadence developers that graduated from the academy? Because we're looking for maybe the more experienced ones that you or people in the academy help teach. And so, because the fact that the Emerald Academy has developed a extremely strong reputation, the people that have participated in it have also developed, their education rep without maybe not, again, like with a number, but they have done it. And so I think that's awesome. I've been really happy to see that even if we don't have that more official structure in place, the overall reputation of this DAO and of the people within it has been growing. And whether or not we want to maybe sort of tackle the more formal approach in the future, I think is fine. But like Andrea said, I think right now it's not crucially important to a lot of the things that we're doing. And so with that being said, that's sort of, it makes us question like what the governance guild should really be focused on. And I think, it's definitely clear that like the education and building guild have a lot more going on. And I think that's the way it should be. I think that, at least in my opinion, and what's worked really well for Emerald DAO is to do things, like, Andrea said, is to do things, do more things and less talking. And I think the less talk we have in the governance guild almost might be a good indicator that things are working well. I think if we're not super focused on voting and reputation, all that things, I think it's because, the things we're doing in the other guilds are working very well. I almost imagine the governance guild to be like a sort of like check or like a constant reminder that like we have administrative, processes here to help keep us in check as we continue to grow. But if we're not having those discussions, and I think it's because things are working. So that's just where I'm coming at this from. And I think, if we do want to give the governance guild a sort of focus, I think focusing on how we can monetize, I think, is a really important discussion to have, because, at the beginning, we were sort of just giving support. We were building Float, right, which of course we want to be free and open for everybody. The Emerald bot, right? But as I don't know if many of you have felt the same thing, but in the past like 2 weeks, I would say Emerald City has reached a point where we're starting to really take on like more complicated tasks, and people are looking to Emerald City almost to accomplish these things, which is just amazing. I mean, where we've come. But with that being said, like it is important that we start to value both our time and also like the reputation of the DAO, and start accepting some payment here and there. So the guild leaders sort of had a discussion about this yesterday, which was trying to figure out how we can start to maybe monetize and stuff like that. Maybe with the academy, we have like a $100 minimum to take the course or something like that. And I really wanted to have that discussion today. So I'm really looking to Ashley, BZ, and SWT here, and Willie Blue, and so actually, I mean, pretty much everyone except the guild leaders. What are your thoughts around making the academy sort of like a paid experience, meaning it would cost like $50 to $200 to actually enroll in the course? I'm not saying this is what we're going to be doing, but what would you think about something like that?
So I guess if people really want to learn flow and they're noobs, they'll probably do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in my case, at that time when I saw fast forward, if it said that I had to pay for it, like let's say $100 or $200,
Yeah.
I would probably still do it.
Yeah, like what it's really it's so difficult for me. I have so many complicated opinions on this because like thanks, Ash. Yeah, I have so many complicated opinions here that it's almost hard for me to talk about it because on the one hand, like I have built up Emerald City to be this like, we want people to learn. Like our goal here is not to, I mean, my personal goal here is not to make money, right? It is to help onward people to educate, right? But at the same time, like it is literally impossible for us to keep this going if we don't have some sort of treasury, right? And so I think like at some point we do have to start requiring this $100 or $200 minimum. I would say $100, right? I think that's like a very clean point to have people take the course, and I think it would help us out a lot.
Yeah,
But again,
I
like
think
yeah, you go.
yeah, I think Jacob, what we could do is that we could have like a free course, right? Like an introductory course,
Yeah,
like and then wow people with that, and then have the good stuff, advanced courses like building actual dApps, real production stuff, being a paid course.
yeah,
um, because then we still, then we don't lose out on people who would have converted later on, and maybe become really, really valuable. Because I know that you also want to reach as many as possible, and we get that from free education many times.
E-
But of course,
exactly.
yeah, but they could of course also be onboarded just from your YouTube channel because you have so much content. But I like the introductory courses where people can like, tip their toes in or whatever you call it in English.
Yeah, what BZ said, I want to point this out. What BZ just said is extremely important to understand. The fact that when you think about Emerald City and where we've gotten our builders from, right? Like, there's a reason we're able to complete. I guess Float was me and Andrea, but there's a reason that we're able to complete Emerald Gateway. There's a reason that we're able to take on these bounties from Dapper Collectives, and it's because we have a lot of developers that are in our community willing to contribute. And the reason we have those people is because we provided a free education, right? If we had required like $100 or $200 minimum to take the Emerald Academy, I am almost certain that we would have less builders willing to take on these bounties for Dapper Collectives, right? And so that's a really important point to think about. That even if we're not maybe gaining a lot of money through the academy, we are gaining a ton of experience and a ton of future revenue through those people that are learning on the education side and then switching to that building aspect, right? Which is what I talked about ever since the very first town hall was people graduating from the education to the building and helping us out on the building side. So I'm really curious what you guys think about that as well, because that's a really important thing to think about.
Yeah, so like graduation certificates could be like only paid courses, right? So people like feel value from there also, but still like always something introductory so they can like actually get to learn what they are going into, because there's so much noise in the space, and then they suddenly see like, oh, there's this paid course, but yeah, why?
Yeah.
Like when everything in Web3 is like supposed to be very open sourced and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it makes sense to make something more sustainable long term.
So do you guys think that if we did require a hundred, let's say we required $100, and let's go with what Ashley was saying, right? So we require $100 to get live workshops and to get your quest graded, right? If we did do that, do you think it would take away from that pathway that people have been taking from the education to the building side, where we have a lot of developers because they did the free education? Or do you think it would sort of not? Do you think it would not impact it as much as I'm thinking? And do people like? Maybe I'm not explaining it right. Do people like understand what I mean by that? Like the pathway from education to building and why we've benefited so much from the free education. Keep it free for now with the option to get paid in the future. Yeah, there's a few options. It's either we, do this sort of like, this is what I'm thinking about. It's like, maybe do we have this introductory course be like free for just the content and paid for the workshops and the quests? Or do we keep the first boot camp free and then make the more advanced boot camps paid? Or do we do what Ashley is saying right now, which is like maybe keep it beta access for now and like give certain people free access, but gradually transition it to a paid course? There's a lot of different avenues.
Actually, what would be very easy for the Web3 space is that everything has to be paid, and they'll receive tokens for it. also included, because then usually when people are interested in Web3, they are interested in tokens, whether NFTs or like fungible tokens. So it helps them justify why they should, like, why they would pay, in my opinion, because then it feels like, well, if they believe that this is big anyways, well, they don't have anything to lose, whether they end up like following through the course, if it makes sense. But
Yeah.
we don't have to be like dependent on tokens. But it's just something that I know for a fact that it's so much easier to like to pay for anything where you receive tokens, because then the tokens can, like, if you believe in the project, the token will pay themselves off anyways. So it's like free education anyways. But yeah,
With
it's just an idea.
BC's introduction to the token, I have a suggestion. Like, can we make the course refundable? Like, when someone's finished the course within our expectation, like with flying scores, and within a period of time, then we refund them with the Emerald token.
Yeah, that's really, this is a very interesting point to bring up token. I think we do want to keep in mind that like the reason that we are having these people pay for the course is to financially benefit Emerald City. So if we were to end up giving them tokens in return, we're sort of losing out on that financial benefit. You know what I mean? And it's also, you do open a can of worms when you start promising tokens, because like, you know, if something were to go wrong, or like, you know, it is like another like layer added on. But like if we were to do a token, we would have to make sure that like, you know, if you know that we were still gaining like, you know, $100 worth of, you know, content, or $100 worth of, you know, yeah, just $100.
Yeah, if I can jump in here, the thing about giving, for example, emeralds, right, which would be the Emerald DAO token, in exchange, I think what BZ and Bam were saying is like the Emerald token doesn't cost anything to mint, right? The only downside to giving it out is that either we're minting it from scratch, meaning that we're diluting the supply, or we have a very strict 1-for-1 or 10-for-1 match with Flow or something, right? And in that case, then it has a very fixed monetary value. It's kind of like a stable coin just tied to another cryptocurrency, for example.
Yeah.
I think what BZ was saying specifically was more on the first thing, right? Where it's like, hey, we're going to generate a Genesis supply, for example. And I'm just talking random numbers, right? But just to give an idea. We have a Genesis supply of 1 million tokens. 80% will be put in the treasury. 10% will be made available to people completing the Emerald Academy course, and 10% will be made available to early investors or something. I don't know, like, right? And that way, the value of the token is just determined by the supply and demand of it, rather than any intrinsic value that it has because it's tied to something else. And if that were the case, then giving someone who completes a course $100 worth of tokens as a refund when they complete the course, then it's just a matter of like giving a token that's not tied to anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Just wanted to make sure that at least I understood. And please, BZ or Bam, correct me if you had a different interpretation.
I don't think they need to be valued, like pegged exactly to $100.
Right.
Because then it's like, yeah, it's a free course immediately. But they might be, you know, worth just $1, right? $1, and
Yeah.
that, you know, they're not that accessible, those tokens. Like not anyone can just buy them easily. Say that it's not on a swap yet. It still brings some value, because then if they believe in the stuff, eventually it might be worth $100. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah. So
I also wanted to clarify, I didn't mean for it to be pegged. I'm saying, like, in the case where we don't have a pegged currency, to make it seem fair to people, you know, paying for the course, given that you said that people want something back for it, right? Maybe we just say with, you know, you can have $100 worth at the moment in time of tokens, which could be, 60 tokens, it could be 200 tokens, it could be 1,000 tokens if the token's worth like 10 cents or something, and because people have in mind that will grow, or it can be less than $100 worth, but it won't be pegged to $100. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anyways, I didn't mean to detour the conversation. I was just kind of thinking out loud around more around the token, because I know that's a big can of worms.
Yeah.
It's probably worth discussing in this guild.
Yeah, no, totally, Andrea. Yeah, not at all. Don't worry. I think, well, it's very interesting. Yeah, so I think like, what BZ is saying, like, for example, if the course is like, $100 or something, and, we give them back like $10 worth of Emerald token, whatever that is at the time. That seems totally fine to me, because then we are still benefiting from it financially, and we're getting people excited about Emerald City, and, the more people holding Emerald token, I guess the better. So seems fine to me. I'm catching up on the chat here. Hold on. Yeah. So okay. So now we're sort of talking about like charging for certification. That to me, see, like the reason that I struggle with the certification part is because that seems like super, just like artificial to me. And what I mean by that is like, at the end of the day, like when I enroll in a course, I'm enrolling in the course for education. I'm enrolling in the course to learn more about cadence, and when I walk out of the course, I want to know more about cadence. And in the case of like certification, most often that's used to like present yourself on a resume or to prove that you did something, right? But if someone's interviewing you and they say, hey, do you know cadence? And you're like, yes. I mean, it's the same thing as like having a more official certification. I don't know. I guess it's more like a personal grudge, I guess, I have against like certification, because I think the value of it's pretty low at the end of the day. Because if someone's learning, they're learning. But says
Yeah,
true.
exactly, Andrew. I was thinking like, says the Ivy League.
No, actually true. No, that is actually true though. But I mean, I have my own grudge against school. And I guess like the only reason I'm in school is because of the expectation that I did it. But
what I would say is that like if you look in the Ethereum space right now, there are de facto spots that you can go to, and I'm forgetting the name of the there's an open source like repository that everybody kind of goes to, and they know that that's the place that you go to. If at the start of their creation of those repositories they had been an academy that also certified people to make things, it might be even more powerful. And so in this sense, having a certification that says, hey, I went through the EC bootcamp, they certified me, it is a little bit of a snake eating its own tail. You're asserting that EC is the validator, but other people outside of EC are pointing back at you saying, yes, they are the validator.
yeah,
that's the key part of the whole loop, and what gives it value.
Yeah. I mean, we actually, I think like, right now, like we're issuing floats to people, right? And that in a sense is like a certification. What we could do is, if we're thinking about this freemium versus premium model, if people do enroll in the premium version, then we will give them a certification, because those people not only learned the boot camps, but we also personally graded their quests and had them attend live workshops. So it's almost like guaranteed that they're up to speed. Whereas someone that, took the course for free, maybe they're doing quests, maybe they're just running the content. We have really no idea if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, because we're not reviewing their quests. We're not making them attend these workshops. So maybe, we do that sort of model. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
So let's say that Emerald City actually ends up requiring us, requiring students to pay $100. Personally, like I love like Emerald City. I love like Jacob, right? But I would for some reason, if Jacob made an NFT and wanted to sell it for $100, I would rather buy the NFT rather than paying $100 for the course. I don't know why I feel that way. But
Maybe you'll just
I
drop
don't
an
know.
NFT project.
But it's just like personally me. I'm not really sure why that is. Maybe it's because I'm used to all the free information, like everywhere. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like that's sort of why we're having this conversation, right? Because people are very used to this free education, but just to sort of like toot my own horn here, and also just to like give all of you like the value that you deserve. I mean, like people are coming to the academy and learning from like the top cadence developers in the space. I mean, me, Biartech, and all. I mean, some of you here now. Bam is pretty well experienced in cadence, and there's some people in Emerald City that are like the top of the they're at the top, and so at some point, right, like. We do want to value our time and have people pay for that sort of content, or else if they want to, they can learn for free and they can just go to someone else's boot camp, but that's not going to be anywhere near the level of content that we're providing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think, I think like what both the guild leaders and we ended up sort of at, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like we're approaching this thing where, there's a freemium versus premium model where the free people, they can be in the boot camp, they can learn from the course, they can submit their quests, and we'll encourage the community to review each other's quests. But in order to attend the live workshops, in order to like have your quest graded within a 24-hour span or something like that by an instructor themselves, in order to get certified, we have them pay $100 to enroll in the course. So what does everyone think about that?
I mean, I think that's fair. It's grading the work basically that has to be done by EC. Somebody has to do that. Someone has to validate it. And end of the day, as you say, you guys are the top cadence developers in the space right now, and you're making yourself available. An alternative might be maybe the NPR sponsorship model, mixed in with like the Save a Pet Foundation, where you do an NFT project and you say sponsor a cadence development like bootcamp. For every NFT that gets sold, somebody gets to do a cadence development and try and see if the community wants to sponsor education.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know too much about that, but wait, can you repeat that some more, Lucky?
Yeah, so what would happen is the NPR model of funding like a public work is to go to the community, and like NPR does this every quarter or every other year and says, hey, buy these overpriced goods basically, and that's what funds NPR for the rest of the year. So people send $100, $500, and they get like a mouse pad, but they know that they're funding public radio. Flow is nominally very much community focused, so we reach out to artists and try and do an NFT project, and we say, hey, here's where all of the money from this NFT project is going to go. It is going to go to funding the education of the cadence community, and for every NFT sold, it's $100 per 100 in Flow USD per NFT, and that sponsors one person to go through the course.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's also true. There's like $100 might not be a lot for people who live in the US and Europe, but I know what I noticed in the Mercury Hackathon was that a lot of people were also from like Africa, like in really poor countries. I don't know how they would feel about it, but in the end, this is like a reversible decision, right? Like we can try to do like $100, $200 for the course. If we see that okay, something changes drastically with Emerald City, like regarding builders coming in and stuff like that, I guess it could be reversed, like or changed, anyways.
So hold on, I'm writing all this out so that we can more formally agree on it. So,
You could even do honor system like stuff with this too, where it really becomes if you can pay, pay your $100. But if not, apply for the Emerald City Scholarship Program, which is funded by donations from the community who buy NFTs that come from EC. So people who can afford to do pay because they value EC, but then you also create a pathway for anybody who can't afford to, for whatever reason, whether they're in the West or not. Not everybody has liquid cash, but there could be people who have access to the internet and want to try but are in freaking inner city Detroit. And if they had some kind of on-ramp, this could be a life changer.
Okay, so what does everyone think of what I just typed out? I think this is an accurate summary of what we said, but maybe not. So, the free side of things is, access to content. So it's open for everybody. You can submit quests and, it can be reviewed by the community, but we don't guarantee that. You get swag at the end, maybe access to the recorded workshops. But the paid side is everything in the free side, plus your quests get reviewed by instructors and access to live workshops. And then you get a float certification by Emerald City. And people can pay for others to enroll in the course if they want to. So sort of like what Support Monkey was talking about.
I know this is a very minor point, but I would also give a different float to people who kind of want to self-report that they did the boot camp. Also, in light of, so maybe we can have like a self-paced float and a certification float, right? The certification float, no one can claim, but the instructors have to award it. Whereas the self-claimed one is just like, hey, I attended, or I went through the boot camp, and it's a badge of honor for people who either don't want to pay or can't pay or aren't really interested in the certification. But at least it stays true to the float, idea that I was there, I did it.
Yeah, but people could lie about that, right? Because they could just be like, "Oh, I'm claiming it because I did it," and then they're lying.
No, of course, but that float, again, we don't have to spend time on it, but it's more like that float won't be the same float as the Emerald certification, the Emerald Academy certification float. It's just going to be like, good job, or I attempted, or I did the Emerald Academy content, or Emerald Academy fan, or something like that. Whereas the certification would be a completely separate float that would be verified via Emerald ID, could not be claimed individually. Like, it has to be awarded at the end of the course by an instructor, et cetera, et cetera. But again, it's just a minor note based on your summary. If I had to,
makes sense. Got it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like that a lot. So it's almost like at the end we just like put a link and we're like, hey, like you can claim the float if you like, go ahead and claim it because you did it. I like that a lot. Now the one thing that I'm thinking about now is like, how would we award swag to participants at the end, for example? Because with this model in the free course, instructors aren't keeping track of who's actually completing the course. So we don't know who did it. So we don't know who to give swag to at that point. So that's something I'm thinking about now too.
See, I wonder if you could do some kind of something like a CAPTCHA, where you have to solve a problem to prove you're a human, but in this case, it's some kind of problem that you should only be able to solve if you actually did the course. And I mean, obviously it's going to have to be some kind of reduced solution, something that's close to 2 + 2 = 4, but is that possible?
Like a cadence lead code type of thing.
Yeah. Well, if you think about this course, we could certainly do that because the final quest is an NFT contract. So if you just submit your NFT contract, then technically you've done the course, right? Although I guess like an EC solution to this problem is we also could just bump down the swag to the paid version. What do you guys think about that? Because what we could do there actually is we could use swag for the premium, but we could also, like, as instructors, I mean, we're going to be aware of people that are in the boot camp, whether free or not. And, you know, if we want to award some swag personally to the top finishers, even if they're the free version, then that's also a way of like encouraging, you know, good work, even if they didn't pay. So I kind of like that too. I don't. What do you guys think about that?
That seems reasonable to me.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. So, all right, this is very interesting. And you know, I was also going to say like, well, so what I would say is, you know, we want people to submit flow token probably to the Emerald City Treasury. So we'll have people like give 100, you know, flow token to our treasury, and then we'll have them like, you know, send us the transaction link to show that they did it. And then we could actually verify they did it with Emerald ID, because we'll ping them in the Discord and be like, oh, is that the address that donated? So it's pretty easy for us to check whether or not they're lying.
Could we? I kind of liked BZ's idea of having like an NFT, which is like a mechanism. It kind of acts as a receipt, right, for having sent the money, and it's all done automatically. Or was that already the case? Like,
so
if we had an NFT, it's like whoever buys this NFT, like buying this NFT gives you access to the pro course, right? No, it not only gives you the NFT, but that NFT can then be verified via Emerald ID natively. So it's pretty it's pretty Web3 in a way.
Oh, that's actually, you know what? That's actually perfect for us, because think about what we can do with that, right? We can direct people to a website where they run a transaction that, you know, withdraws 100 flow token or whatever, $100 worth of flow token from their account and gives them an NFT, and then we can actually use Emerald Bot in the Discord to verify that they have the NFT, which gives them gated access to a premium channel.
Exactly. And all credit goes to BZ, by the way.
You're muted and banned, BZ. I love this a lot, though. This is great. Yeah, this is fantastic. Okay, so what do you all, and also, by the way, to everyone that completed the previous boot camp, like, you will be treated as if you did like the premium, right? So you'll get the swag, you'll get the NFT, all that. So just to point that out there, but because I know we have a lot of people that did the previous boot camp. So okay, so are we willing to try this out for the next boot camp? Andrea, what do you think about that? Like, should we get this going for the next one and try it out?
Yeah. The only variable in all of this discussion is, you know, we've been talking separately how Flow can support Emerald Academy, and they would be sponsoring various things such as the swag and stuff,
and instructors
so,
too.
Yeah. So we should probably figure out how those things will work together. For context for everyone, I'm currently in the process of securing a bounty for Emerald Academy, so that people wanting to help again give rewards for people who are either instructors, and, you know, to pay for prizes for people who complete the course, et cetera, which is also the reason why Jacob rightfully pointed out, how do we keep this sustainable in the long term? So in the short term, the Flow Foundation grants will probably be enough, but we can still try it out. Like, you know, the attendees don't need to know that there's funding. The funding can be used for all sorts of cool initiatives, anyways, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would just try to make sure that we have both sides covered, and we're not double spending or double dipping on anything, so that it's all transparent.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, so we'll still use like the Flow Foundation for, you know, swag and instructors, and which is like sort of the main point anyway. But I totally agree with that. Yeah,
cool.
You know what you could do with respect to how to manage the flow ones, especially for like chains of custody, is maybe create a specific float for anybody who's sponsored by the Flow Foundation, and then you could actually use that to beat a stick at other people and say, "Hey, you should be doing like Flow and sponsoring people to learn."
Yeah, I think Yeah, that's a good idea. I think the most of the Float Foundation won't be going to the. I mean, if any, I don't even know, but like the Float Foundation won't be going directly to being like to paying participants. It's more going to like the instructor / administrative side. But like giving them a certification would be great because yeah, that would encourage others to do the same.
Well, I mean, just literally as a funding mechanism. Like, I think Andrea had said in text that might be something that they were interested in sponsoring people from financial situations that are not conducive to paying the fee. It's almost like in small towns, the local schools will send kids around to local businesses to give discounts to people for these little discount cards, and that's how they raise money for intramural sports.
Yeah.
You can kind of map that same funding, and then all of the kids, when they get these cards that go out to the community, there's a little pamphlet that goes with everybody who sponsored the discounts, and it's nominally good branding and good PR for everyone. This is kind of the same thing. You can, because there is a lot of money floating around Web3 projects, and this is a feel-good kind of thing that they can say they're doing. Like, what's your utility? Why did you back my project? Well, we sponsor education initiatives. Like,
Yeah. I think that can kind of be summed up from a, let's say, public-facing concept as a scholarship. I think this was also discussed earlier, like a scholarship fund where people that contribute these funds can either reserve seats for specific people who they want to attend, right? So let's say, oh, I want to represent, like minorities in STEM, for example. I want to reserve 10 seats of the next boot camp for those people and sponsor their seats so they don't have to pay for it, right? And that would be available. Or it could just be, hey, I'm just feeling charitable. Here's 50 seats and give them out to people who you think need it, and that's it, right? So yeah, I think it could be kind of turn into a scholarship program where, just as you said, Support Monkey. I'm not going to repeat what you said, but exactly that.
Great. So with all this in mind, we definitely want to try this out for the next boot camp, which is probably like in 2 to 3 weeks. So if we are going to go the NFT route, which I think is brilliant because we'll be able to gate that really well, how are we going to get an NFT contract out there on mainnet in that amount of time? I'm more thinking out loud right now.
We could temporarily use Rarible and then later migrate them to our another NFT contract. But Rarible is probably pretty nice because you can see the NFTs, and I think you can also see them now on Find XYZ. So
wait, I totally forgot. I'm literally like a genius, because because I actually designed Float to be able to be given out in a transaction. So what we can do, just like Bam said, is we can actually set up a website that withdraws tokens from someone's account and deposits it to the treasury, and also manually gives them a float. So we'll just use Float as the gated access.
I think that makes a lot of sense because Float's starting to become a standard almost.
Yeah.
It's there's a whole lot that you can do with it, and it is unique to Flow. So I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. I completely forgot that I designed Float perfectly. This is great. All right,
Genius.
All right, so we'll. It sounds like what?
No.
I
was just going to say one thing that I flagged that we could potentially also implement for other people wanting to do something similar, given that Emerald DAO is also creating tooling for others to use, would be to have pay to claim floats, so that people on the other end can gate based on having it, and also offer the float as a kind of ticket or something.
Oh, so you're saying like we would add in addition to capacity and time based and secret
Yeah,
code,
exactly.
we would add a paid one? Oh yeah, we could definitely do that too.
So you specify how much flow or something, or in the future emeralds, and yeah, people who want to have access to that need to provide that in the transaction.
Oh, got it. Yeah, I'm sure we could do that too. Yep. So once floats on mainnet, then we could do that too. Yeah. So this is fantastic because this I love that we roped in floats here. That's really great. Because this also, like this support monkey said, that sets a standard for everyone else to do the same thing. I mean, if people see that the top academy / education platform on Flow is using floats to gate access to their certifications and all that, I mean that's perfect. So yeah, we'll do that. Okay. So yeah. All right, that's great. So I'm okay. So we're gonna do this bootcamp in 2 to 3 weeks. It's gonna be $100 to enroll. In the premium version. The premium. Let me just quote what I wrote here so that we can all look at it. So let me just reply to this. So everyone, take a look at this. So the $100 will be, quests reviewed by instructors, access to the live workshops. You'll get a float certification by Emerald City, saying that you actually completed the course. And you'll also get swag at the end. And the free version will just be access to the content, can submit quests. We'll say, maybe the community will review it for you, but no promises, and access to the recorded workshops. And they will also have, like Andrea mentioned, they will also have a self-claimable float that's not like certified or anything. Okay. And then what we'll do is we'll have gated access in this Discord for people that do buy the float. We'll have it so that they get gated access to the premium channels in this Discord. Yeah. And what's cool about that is that, that applies to not just one bootcamp, but to all of them, right? So let's say that I bought a premium NFT for my bootcamp. I still have access to that channel even beyond it. So, it's almost like we're forming like a premium little community in itself, right? Which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and people can create premium communities based off of that as well, a bit like they're doing with Emerald ID, but even more fine grained, right? It's like, oh, I want anyone who's gone through the boot camp, maybe 1 and 2, right?
Yep.
And so,
love it.
Yeah.
So
100%.
yes, the only remaining issue is we need to set up a website to actually claim. Oh, let's do it on the Academy website. So,
exactly. I was gonna raise that point that the Academy website, as nice as you made it, Jacob, looks like shit.
What?
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No. We definitely need to.
All right, so we don't have to listen to him anymore. Thank God. All right, so we'll put it on the Academy website. We'll charge Andrea $500 to actually enroll in the course, and he's also been banned and kicked from the Discord. Andrea, you're unmuted now. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I'm just saying that I'm joking. Of course, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
But we do need to spruce it up and make it look a bit more professional, as well as I mentioned the other day, move the bootcamp content either within Emerald, like it should be within the Emerald DAO GitHub, and we need to find a way to make the contributions manageable, because I think once we scale up to like 50 or 200 people, it's going to be very hard to keep track of Discord alone. Like there should be some way to, like, a standardized way to like clone a repo, submit an issue for correction, etc.
Definitely. Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, and that sort of ties back to like the we want people using GitHub. So, yeah, we'll have. So that's So I guess like we'll have premium people, instead of submitting their quests in. So I like this. So instead of submitting their quests in Discord, right? Because the free people, the freemium people, they'll just be submitting their quests in Discord, maybe. I don't know, or maybe on GitHub. But we'll require that the premium people, if they're getting their quests reviewed, they make an issue or something, and then we'll review it on the issue. And it's also easier. It's better discoverability too. Things get lost in Discord so easily, but on GitHub, it's also like, you can go back and look at what other people were struggling with. So yeah, I like that. Cool. And yeah, so if anyone wants to help on the Academy, Because I have too much going on with the bounty, so I won't really be able to do this academy thing. I mean, I'll do the smart contract side of things, but if anyone wants to help with spicing up the academy website and making it more official, so that we can sort of have like the premium version, that would be amazing if someone could take that on.
If you give me a brief, I'll pass it to Freak and see if he's got time to do it. I'm not sure if he will or not, but ask.
Yeah, I do love Freak. Yeah, he's great. It actually, I mean, it shouldn't be too. Andrea, do you have any like? Since you were shitting on it, do you have any ideas for how to improve the website?
Why don't we have a meeting on it, or like a town hall on it, specifically like a quick sync,
Yeah.
and people that are interested in working on it, so that we kind of align as a group and brainstorm how we can do it and assign tasks. I'm also happy to help out if I can.
Okay, yeah. So let's so we can we'll schedule. We should probably do it outside the town hall, just because it's more like developer oriented.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely. Yeah.
So we'll make a separate meeting to discuss like how to make Academy more official and also how to add the purchase NFT functionality on it. Which of course we can't do until it's on mainnet anyway. But
right.
We'll think.
And so once it's on mainnet, it won't need another approval or update.
No. So once floats on mainnet, we'll be good to go.
Awesome. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. So cool. So let's schedule that meeting. And just to really quickly recap again, next bootcamp's gonna be in 2-3 weeks. We'll have premium version. And we'll test it out and see how it goes and see if people actually enroll in the premium stuff. So yeah, that's that. This was very productive. So Marab said, how can you stop free course people will not contribute to GitHub? So, oh yeah, I don't know why I said that, because I had mentioned that the whole point of buying the NFT was to get gated access to a Discord channel. So actually, I'm sorry, I was wrong about that. Thank you for correcting me. We won't have, but we do want people on GitHub though. So we will have like a premium.
Can I suggest something?
Yeah.
What if we, like, the process is the same, so things are simple for everyone to understand as well as for the instructors to follow,
Yeah.
right? I think the more we fragment things, the more confusion it creates.
Yeah.
So I would try as much as possible to keep things as streamlined as possible. And given that we have the benefit that we can automatically create special Discord channels for people who have the premium course, that's where the SLAs will be much lower, so or much higher, depending on how you look at it. In the sense that they expect quick feedback. The instructors will prioritize those channels to give feedback on, and likewise, the instructors will have the ability to tag the issues or whatever mechanism we decide to use on GitHub of the premium participants with a special tag that only the instructors can assign, which will kind of put them at the top of the list to be corrected.
Got it. So what we'll do is we'll have everyone submit the request through GitHub, but we'll treat the premium Discord channel as like a very fast and quality support channel for people to ask questions there. Okay, cool. Yeah. So the Discord will almost act as like extreme levels of support, but we'll have everyone submit through GitHub because it just makes exactly. And
we can. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say the only reason that we would have like the freemium people submit through GitHub is because, again, we'll say like, hey, see this is my problem though, right? Because if we're gonna say that like the free people should be submitting quests because the community will review it, I honestly doubt that anyone will just go to GitHub to review quests if they're just community. Whereas like in Discord, they're much more likely to like just poke around and maybe answer a question here and there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Maybe they can, if they do it, they can get, randomly selected for a prize or a swag or something. Well, I don't know. I think we should.
Yeah, I mean, the incentive also is that like people that do a really good job of submitting like if the community, if we see people reviewing quests, we'll bring them on as an instructor the next month for $1,000, right? So that's not a bad deal at all.
Nope. 100%.
Okay. So it's just a matter of communicating that. Yeah, that's fine. I like that. So we'll have everyone go through GitHub, and then we'll have a very quick and quality support channel for premium people. All right. Float for reviewing quests. Yeah, so like in a sense that, we'll have, a float for, I don't know, instructors or something like that. So it'll turn into that. I like this a lot. All right, so I'll write this up, and I will submit a little announcement. And yeah, let's, tying back to the original discussion here about the governance guild, let's keep this discussion, even though this is very education focused, let's keep this like monetization stuff in the governance guild and go from there.
Sounds good.
All right.
Hoorah.
Cool. All right. Thanks, everybody. Very productive, as always. It's always very helpful getting to talk to all of you. So thank you for coming. And I will see you all probably the next time we'll get to speak is in the town hall this upcoming Sunday. So I will see you in the town hall. And in the meantime, we have a lot of stuff going on, as always. Oh, my God. With the 3 bounties that we're taking from Dapper Collectives. So if anyone's interested in taking the bounties and helping out, please let me know. And have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday.